Welcome back, everyone. We have just finished up balancing the crankshaft that we're going to use in the 327. So we've got it right here. Everything's balanced up on it. We've got it cleaned up, ready to put into the engine. So we're going to go ahead and uncover it again. So like I had mentioned earlier, we've already checked all of our bearing clearances, so we're good there. So we're going to go ahead and pull these main caps off, go ahead and get the camshaft installed in it, and get the rear seal in it, lay the shaft in it, then get the main back on them, get them pulled down. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these caps off real quick. They've been torqued in and checked. Number one, this is number 2, 3, and 4. Let's try this one more time. All right, like your T-bar. And number 4. Okay. There, I'm gonna run down here and grab the cam.
Founded in 1946, Benning Auto Parts and Machine Shop continues to meet the engine needs of the Columbus community and beyond. We offer crankshaft service, engine balancing, cylinder head service, and engine block service. For more than 60 years, our full-service machine shop has performed high-end engine services and rebuilds for high-performance motors or stock engines from Ford, Chevy, and Dodge. Let us machine your engine components or complete your engine assembly. Just call, click, or pay us a visit. Benning Auto Parts and Machine Shop, your engine expert.
All right, welcome back. I had to go grab the customer's camshaft. So this is the camshaft that we're going to use in this engine. It's a hydraulic flat tappet. 510 lift on the intake, 510 lift on the exhaust, about 310 degrees advertised duration, which at 50 is about 244 duration. Now this is an Earson cam, a real good cam. We've used this cam a lot. We use 465s, 480s, and this particular one is a 510. So we're going to go ahead and slip that in the block. We've got it cleaned up real good. Everything looks fine on it. I always use a little lube, a little assembly lube. Little assembly lube on the journals as we slide it in. Careful as you can, put it in. You don't want to try to keep from nicking the cam bearings as you go through the load. So that's why I like to put them in first. I can put the cam in first. I can kind of direct it in, make sure everything gets in there good. Okay, so we've got the cam in it. Everything turns good. So that's good to go there on the camshaft. So I'll point out, as we had talked earlier on these main bearings, there's upper and there's lower on the main bearings. The upper is what is the block side, this being the block, and the uppers go in the block side. As you can see, they got little holes in them, and that's for the oil to come through the main bearing and lubricate the crankshaft. You got hole here, 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 and here. Now, only the uppers have the holes in them. The lowers do not have holes in it. So here's a lower. You can see it's a full shell bearing, no hole in the upper. Of course, you don't need it because it's not oiling from that side. It's oiling from the block side. So that's the upper side, and that's the side that gets the bearings with the chamfered hole already put in them. So just want to point that out. Actually, I have seen people accidentally put those in backwards. Put the solid one down and the hole up, and that's not that. You won't have a good day if you do that. So, all right. The next thing is we're going to get ready to go. Is we're going to put our rear main seal in before we lay the crankshaft. So I've got a rear seal, which I didn't grab. I need to go grab it. We like to use we use Velcro seals mostly. Sometimes we'll use a Victor Wrench, Victor Cleveite seal. Either one is one's just as good as the other. So that's the next step. Is we're going to put that in, and then so let me grab the rear seal. I should have grabbed it when I was down there, but I forgot it. So let me go get that. This particular one is a Velcro. This is what we call a two-piece rear seal. The lip right here, you see that lip? It always goes to the inside of the engine, and it kind of fits in the block like that. And then the other side, also with a lip to the inside, fits in the cap, and they seal together. So we're going to get this prepped up and get the lower half installed, and then we'll be ready to put some assembly lube on there and lay that crankshaft. All right, I like to use a little sealer on my seal. Got a little bit of RTV in there. Well, I'm gonna take my rear seal and I'm gonna double check it. The lip, there's the lip. It goes to the inside, so we're gonna fit that in there real good, like that. Next thing, I'm gonna put some assembly lube on my bearings. Before I do that, I'm gonna wipe my bearings down real clean, make sure that they're clean. I like to use just plain old lacquer thinner. Well, if you're in the body shop business or anything like that, you can get what they call gun lacquer cleaner. It's for cleaning spray guns. Well, nowadays, I think they use mostly water. But clean all my bearings off real good. I like the lacquer thinner, clean the mounting native surfaces up real good. I like using lacquer thinner because it basically doesn't leave any residue behind. When it dries, it's good and dry. So. All right, I'll put some assembly lube on it. Kind of good assembly lube is fine. I'll put a little on this seal right here so it's not running dry. I use plenty of assembly lube. I don't believe you could use too much, just to be honest with you. Because the most damage to any engine is on the initial startup, and you don't want a dry startup. Now, this back bearing is also the thrust bearing, where the thrust is set on the crankshaft, in other words, the end plate. So we'll make sure we put some lube on both sides of the thrust right there. All right, so we got all that ready. Seals in. Thrust bearing is lubricated. It's all lubricated up real good, so we're ready to set that shaft in there. So. Get a good hold on it. I don't want to drop it. All right, here we go. All right, shaft fell right in place. It's all good there. Everything looks good. So we're going to put the seal in it in the rear cap and go ahead and lay the seal in there and the rear cap in there. So I use these lint-free rags. We buy them special, buy them at Harbor Freight or different places like that. And because lint, believe it or not, well, off a regular old shop rag, that lint will just get everywhere. Clean that bearing up real good. So once again, that cap will fit on there like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my rear seal in it. Of course, that cap is gonna sit on there just like this. So I got my seal, the lip of my seal is gonna be to the front, just like the other one is. Put that in there, just like that. So that's the way it looks once we get it ready to, it's ready to set on there. Now I am going to put a little sealer. If you ever tear one of these engines down from the factory, the one that's never been disassembled, you'll see the factory always puts a real small layer of sealer right there where that cap seals that block. So we're going to do that as well to make sure that we get a good seal and no oil can seep under it. So that's what we're going to do. This is a real small, thin layer. Okay, so I got my rear seal ready. I'm ready to install this thing. I'm going to put me a little assembly lube on there. Again, on the thrust surface right there. So this thing is ready to go on. So we got everything cleaned up and ready. So we're going to set it right down on there. It looks good. Gonna give it a little tap to seat it. Okay, it's seated in right there. Everything looks good. And just kind of snug it up. Always use a little oil right on the top where the bolt's gonna go. That way it gives it a good slick finish for it to tighten on. Back up with a ratchet. And we're just going to snug them right now. Make sure everything turns. Then we're going to go ahead and put the front one on. And then after I get the front one on, we're going to set our thrust. Make sure that the thrust is good. So that's the next step is we're going to get this front main on and we're just going to snug it up as well. So once again, we got the bearing in it. We'll clean up the mating surfaces real good. Make sure it's all good. Little assembly lube. Caps on. Now these caps have got an arrow on them that shows the direction. The arrow always goes to the front. But another way you can check it is it's got a bearing lock. And it's got a bearing lock here. So the bearing locks always go together, along with the arrow being towards the front. So Got that. A little oil on it. Of course, head bolts or Chevy main bolts have shoulders, and the shoulder is what centers this cap up. So, got that one installed. We're going to snug these up. You got it? Okay. All right, we got that snug. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to line our thrust bearing. So, you notice I didn't torque this down, I just kind of snugged it. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that our two thrust bearings line up with each other. And basically do that by just pushing that crankshaft forward, and then we're going to push it back on this end. So what that's done, that's these two halves, these two bearing halves, it's lined them up exactly the same, top and bottom. So you get equal thrust, top and bottom of the bearing. So that's done. So we're going to go ahead and put the rest of the mains on it. Of course, you see it's just snug, but it's turning really well. Number two, front main, number two. Again, we're going to clean it up real good. And we're going to install that. Of course, bearings in it, arrows to the front, lock goes lock to lock, just like that. We'll seat it in real good. Little shot of oil. Again, the oil is to provide the good clamping. You don't have the bolt trying to drag and friction on the top of the cap with that oil installed. Put those in, them down. Snug that down good. We're still turning good. All right, number three. This is your number three cap. Got some assembly lube on it, lock to lock. Arrow goes forward, just like that. Through the cap seated. Actually, from the factory, those caps really fit in there, really snug. Kind of like snug as a bug in a rug, so to speak, because they cannot move around. So that's why they fit so tight. You don't want a cap walking around because that's just going to lead to premature wear. I'll go ahead and snug this one down. Snug it down, still turning good. So we're going to do number four. Talking about caps. These caps, they have got to go back in the exact order and place that they came off the block. In other words, they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They've got to go back in those positions because these are machined when they machine the block. So they're mated, they're matched to the block. So you can't put 1 in 5's place or 1 in 3's place without an issue. So you got to make sure they go back in the correct place. And that's why you number them. You always number them. Most of them are numbered from the factory. They got a number on them, but sometimes you can't read it. And it's always a good idea to number them yourself, like this one, stamped number 4. You want the bolt to start real easy, and you can see that cap is going to be centered in that bolt. That lets you know you got it in the right position. As we had mentioned in the earlier video this morning, we had already checked all the clearance, and these have these got 0.002, 2000 clearance. So they're all in, they're all snugged. As you can see, we're rotating really good. So now we're going to do the final step is we're going to torque these things down to the spec, which the spec on these is 65 foot-pounds. So we're going to do it. We're going to do them all about 40 first, and then we'll go back and pull them all to 60. So got my torque wrench over here. Snap-on torque wrench. Been using this one for a long time. So we are actually at 35. We're going to bump that to 40. So we got it set at 40 foot-pounds. All right, 40 foot-pounds coming up. Always start in the center. Work to the back, work to the front. So let's be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the way we do it. You always start in the center and then work your way out. So 40 pounds. You hear it clicking? It's clicking off. All right, 40, 40. 40, 40, 40, 40, 40. All right, 40. I'm all pull 40. So you can see we're rotating by hand, smooth as glass, no problems. So that's what we're looking for. Don't want to feel it hang up. You don't want to feel any high spots. Everything feels really good. So I'm comfortable with that. So we're going to go back now. We're going to go to 65 foot-pounds. So going to make an adjustment on the torque wrench. 60. Actually, it says 65 to 70. So give you a little variance. I'm going to pull them about 66 foot-pounds. Again, we're going to start in the middle. This will be the final sequence, final torque. So here we go. 60, 65, 66. And each time we check. 66. Good. 66. 66. 66. All right. So here's where we're at. Got the crankshaft laid in it, rear seals in it. Everything's torqued down, camshaft's installed. And you can see it's turning really, really nice, really free. Got a real good feel to it. This is one of the holes, if you can see right here when we balanced it, that's one of the real small holes that we had to put in it on the back. And then there's also one right here on the front that we put in there to put it in the balance spec. So it's all good. Next thing we'll do is we'll put I'll go ahead and put my timing chain on it. Put the timing chain on and get the cam and the crank in time with each other. But that looks really good. Really good. It looks like I do it real fine. So that's where we're at. We appreciate you tuning in for today. I hope you've enjoyed the build. We've got a lot done this morning. Actually got bearing clearance checked. We got the crankshaft balanced. We got the crankshaft and the camshaft laid in it. It's all torqued down. So we'll get the timing on it, get it in time, and then we'll be ready to file fit some rings for the customer. So it's all good. I appreciate you tuning in on Saturday morning. I hope you enjoyed this little video, and we'll get back with you next week as we get ready to start putting pistons, rods, rod bearings, and rings in. So that's coming up next week. So I hope you join back in and visit with us as we come back to you next week. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you next week. Have a good day.
I get dressed up to go downtown. I'm all messed up on a Friday night. Not really here for a good a glass to the sky. Let's toast to that. All these people can stare. I don't care about that. This is my